Well,
Hello. We'll give a couple minutes for people to join. I'll set up this template. Today is December 2nd. December 2nd. All right. Um, hmm, this. Okay, let me share my screen and then we can kind of get started here. To share. All right. Um, okay. Let's see here. Um, all right. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. Let's get started. Oh, Andrea, welcome. Connecting to audio. Oh,
Hello.
hello, hello. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, so I was out last week being holidays. So I don't know if we had any meetings. It looks like we didn't last week. Um so welcome everyone. And then let's see. I'd like to open the roadmap, kind of go through here. Um, can I remove one sec? I'm not used to Zoom here. Trying to consolidate like all these windows. Oh, I can just move it. Okay, great. Go over here. Okay, perfect. Um, okay, and then let's go to the calendar real quick. Okay, so got to remove the consume confusing type. Yeah, so I didn't get around to that. I'll do that actually this week. I'll move this towards December, the end of this week, and get this done by Friday. Okay, so the idea here is, well, it's still kind of up in the air because we've talked about doing code generation. So I'll bring this issue up again. But if confusing enum types, one, they're not consistent. And then two, depending on the generator, might have some issues generating the enums. So those are the kind of the two issues here. And then some of our generators are even custom, which allows us to kind of like, deal with the kind of the inconsistent enum types that we've provided, but we definitely should do a better job. So this one is kind of contingent on two things: is the code generation tools, as well as how we model these, right? So one approach that one thing that we've been talking about in the past is choosing a different modeling languages for the SDKs. We demoed last or 2 weeks ago Open API as well as Pickle. And they don't need to be mutually exclusive. We can actually use them together because it kind of solve like two different problems. Um, but but I think by choosing a code generator gets rid of this problem altogether. So I'll update this GitHub issue to state that. Oh, yeah, yeah. All right. So you already mentioned this, Andre. So I am gonna put this as a thumbs up. And let me see if I can find the code generation issue and link it here, which I think is in the implementation SIG. Let's see, implementation. Yes, here. Issues, modeling languages. Yes. So I will link this here.
Something that will not be solved by code generation and mentioned, I guess, in this ticket, it's how to have an open enumeration, because the the core of this issue is that we want to allow string and we want to propose some default
Values, yeah.
values, but in any language, I know, I don't know every language, but
Mhm.
at least in Python, Go, etc., it's not possible to say. It could be any value, and if you have a low for priority, by example,
Mhm.
if we use, it should be always low in lowercase and mentioned this way. We could not prevent someone to use low in uppercase or to use lower or low or something different. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, I think code generation does solve this. I'll give you an example. So I'll just kind of type it here, but this is not going to be part of the issue. So for Go, right? Like we would have an enum like string enum, right? Which is just a string. And then the values might be something like like low priority or something like that. And this is a string which equals low, for example. Like that's completely legit in Go. And then you can even pass so let's say we have a function definition here that takes a string enum. Oops. You can call this function, let's call this function foo. You can do something like this and Go. So you can do foo and then pass a string into a string enum. So bar, for example. So this is completely legit in Go. So this is like you can do this, and you can do this in most languages. Actually, I
yes,
would say
but in if as we want to have open, it's what I try to explain in this ticket. As it's not a closed list of enum, it means that part of this list, of this enumeration, we will have something like custom that will take any value, right? And what will happen often is that, right, it will not be related to code generation, it will be related to um, deserialization, I mean parser. Parser, when you will see a string low, when you will read JSON files, it will not try to see if there is an issue. It will always see it's a custom, and it will create custom with low string as a value.
oh
I
yeah,
mean that,
but that's the issue with the modeling language, right? Not being able
yeah,
to describe that properly, right? That I think that's what we were talking about. Like that's
yes.
what you're going off of, right?
Yes, it's because we have the custom, custom is a superset that includes the predefined value. It is the issue. It's not a fully exclusive set between both.
Right, right. Okay, so I think okay, so I will write here, I believe code generation, well, I believe I'm modeling like a new modeling language, like potentially languages may help with this, but we may still need some consistency across definitions, specifically enumerations. So, enums, sorry. Um, so yeah, we can start with this, but I think a modeling language would solve this, David. I think I don't think they're oh, I guess it depends on the modeling language for one. But I think Open API would solve this. Like if we just chose Open API, like it handles stringed enums, right? So
Yes,
I think
yes. No, the issue is not to have string enums, is to have any as part of the. If we go into the sample above, we say the value could be a string or one of the three value. But in reality, what we want to say, it's an open enumeration, a non-exhaustive enumeration.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's still fine. It's still just up to how the code generator and how the modeling language describes that, right? Um, right now, because we rely on one, custom code generators, and then two, I think Rust relies on an actual code generator from open source. It's limited to however it does the generation there. But because but if we end up choosing something like Open API, where we can even, dictate what enums look like, I believe stringed enums for Open API. This could be wrong, but because there's a billion different types of generators in Open API, but I believe stringed enums always support the any type or any string value. So I think we might be okay there, unless I'm misunderstanding you. But from what I'm reading up here, I think I do get what you're saying. I think the issue is primarily just yeah, like you said, like just the any, which I think is covered. Well, hopefully it's covered, but we'll need to see. Let me see.
Why I also open this issue, it's because with on one of our previous Open API, we have this kind of feature, and we use a, a test system that parse the Open API schema and try to generate content. And when it parse this content, it say, we have an issue because I'm not able to generate and to create right parser because the two, the any of in reality is very complicated. And because when you have any of, what is done by the parser is pick the type you want. It's
Oh
how
yeah.
NEF.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what will happen is when you see a string, when you will parse the content, you will say, okay, it's a string. You will never say it's the enum.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's just a limitation of the code generator that utilizes JSON schema. But
No,
the
it's a limitation of JSON parser, I could say. Often JSON parser, when we use any of, and we will generate a JSON parser or how to implement the JSON parser,
mhm.
you will create a string, you will use a string and not enum, I could say.
Yeah. It depends though on like I said, the code and what I mean by that is, let's say we have the JSON string here, right? And let's say we just have our enum looks like this, and let's just say it's like some value, right? So when a JSON parser reads this, it's just a string, right? But in some language, it doesn't matter what the language is. You could have some class, it could even just be a class, like the foo class, right? And if this, type, this enum type is a string, it will serialize it as a string. But if the type is, like, I don't know, stringed enum, it's going to serialize it as a stringed enum, right? So it really depends on how it's code generated. And then if you have an any of where this enum is polymorphic, right? Where it could be, let's say, either stringed enum or let's say a foo enum or a value enum, then what needs to happen is this, if we have something this complicated, we need some sort of custom serializer and a more complicated representation of the data structure. It can't just be a string. Well, if it is a string, then it needs to be a complicated string that needs to have parsing within it, which I don't like. But I'll give you an example. Let's say we do let's say we do these three enums, right? We could have a format. I'm not saying this is the right way, but we could have a format that's like string enum / enum value, right? Like that would be completely legit. And the serializer that is internal to the code generation and to the SDKs would handle that. But it's up to us when we configure the code generators to hook in that logic of these, like either the custom serializers or what have you. So that it is doable, but like I said, again, it's limited to the modeling language. How we want to go about modeling the various different types of any ofs, in this case the polymorphic types, and this is always going to be a case, and whenever you're dealing with polymorphism and modeling, this is always going to be an issue, and we just need to be clear on how we want to handle that. So I think I understand your point now, and I think what we need to do is when we revisit this with the modeling, I think for specifically for enums, this is already solved with a lot of SDKs, or sorry, not SDKs, with a lot of code generators. However, it's not solved elegantly. I say elegantly because it's attempted to be solved across more complicated data structures outside of enums. Because enums are fairly simple, it's usually just a string or an integer. It it's very hard to make that complicated. However, once you start introducing more complex types, then this becomes a little bit more of a hairy situation. So I think for this particular issue, the modeling language and the code generators will solve it. However, the any of in general will not be solved, and we will need to figure out a good standardization and figure out how we want to handle that in the SDKs. Does that highlight everything that you were thinking about, David? Because I think that's what you're getting at. Or should
I'm
I?
not sure.
Okay, okay, what I'll do is I'll spend some time writing everything I just said here and putting in like code examples, et cetera, and kind of explain how code generation will handle this particular case. I'll give a concrete example using OpenAPI that will make it hopefully a little bit more obvious, and then illustrate where Open API will fail with it. I think that will be the right way to go about this. Will that work for you, David?
Yes,
Okay.
go with just start with a sample schema,
Yes.
a sample message, and how we expect to appear into one language, one programming
Perfect.
language.
Perfect. Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, okay. But I get what you're saying now. So it's not really the enum that is the issue. It's just more of the any of and like how the code generators handle that. So now I understand. So what we can probably do is we can create a separate issue that tackles more of the any of, because that's going to be a problem even if we choose a different modeling language. Like that's always going to be a problem. So we need to just be more consistent and be a little bit more clever on how we handle that in the code generator, like in the code generation hooks on whatever modeling language, whatever code generators that we choose. But yeah, okay, cool. So I will go ahead and keep this open and make this an action item to like give a concrete example on how a modeling language and code generator will handle this particular case and the limitations. So
Yeah, but I think it's related to enum in this case. It's two types that are not
yes.
exclusive.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. But but I totally get what you're saying then. Let me make an action item here. Um, okay, so for action items, I will copy this. Let's see. Um, Let me see here. Let's do
We could still use priority example.
was that?
The
Oh
as
yeah,
in the
yeah,
ticket we use the priority, it could still keep it.
yeah. Enums and any of. Yeah, I'll just do this. Let's make it easier. And then describe the limitations and how this can be solved partially with a new code generator and modeling language. Okay, so I will go ahead and do this later today. Cool. So that makes sense. But I think we can probably close this out for the most part once we choose a modeling language. But yeah, I think that should be okay. Let me see if I can figure this. Okay, I'm just gonna comment this for now and then re-edit it. And then let me go back because I think last week we had some action items. Oh, Andrea, yes. Were you able to get any of this the repository add the repository last change to the build events, or were you still working on that?
Um, No, unfortunately, I'm still working on those.
Okay.
It's
Do you want
been
me to move it to next week, end of next week, or do you need a little bit more time?
I think I might need a bit more time. It's a bit crazy end of the year for
Okay.
me.
Let me move it. Just I'm gonna Hail Mary it way out there, and we can always move it back. So how do you feel about end of January?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that would be
Okay,
uh,
let's do that then.
good. Yeah.
That'll just make it easier. Okay, so that's end of January. Let's go back to today. Um, move this as well to end of January. And then this one was at the updated from field. Oh, yeah, that needs to be added. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So those two. And then I did create two, I think two PRs, or did I have one PR? I had I think just the one PR. Let me see. Where did you go? Oh, did it close out? I might have closed them out already, but I think I have a PR open. Let me see.
You
Uh,
filter to have only tickets with the to-do tag.
oh, really? Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, I should have looked at that. Okay. Yeah, fixed consistent casing, which is this one. That's not what I want to do. So it's this one, and then we also wanted to look at these other PRs as well. So this one I think is pretty much done. So the only thing this does, Andrea, is it updates only the docs. So all of the schemas were already updated. Just the docs did not reflect the change. So I went ahead and just updated all the docs, and which will close out that issue. Um, and then I think David made a change. Yeah, where you renamed URL to URI. So I will go ahead and update this. So we talked last time, Andrea, that we were in the process of updating uh, both URL to URI, as well as updating or adding some of the URL fields to the appropriate places as well. So, for example, like URI, yeah, all URLs are now URIs. And then this is now a URI type. So before they were just strings, but now we are saying they strictly need to be a URI type. So this is the change. So I think this looks good. Um, but of course, this is going to be part of 0.5, which is part of the breaking change, and this will be a breaking change. Are you okay with this change or this move or this
Y-
Andrea?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I sorry, I've not reviewed it yet like file by file, but in general, I mean, yeah, the
Cool,
the
cool,
change
cool.
looks good.
All right, awesome, awesome. I just wanted to make sure because we talked about when you weren't here, so I just want I just wanted to get your input. But yes, I'll just reapprove because he did
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
thanks for that.
All right, cool. And then for this one, I think, yeah, so the only thing that was left on this was get rid. So the issue, so this a little bit of context for this one. So um we have test events and we have several other events. And the test events or every other event has some or utilizes success and failure, like it's spelled out, um as opposed to test case is like pass and then fail instead of like success and failure. And then he got rid of cancel, but we re-added that because I was like, oh, we should probably still keep cancel in there. So yeah, just keeping this, it's more of just consistency of like things being successful and failure. I am, however, okay with keeping it as pass if we want to keep it as pass, because I know that's more semantically correct for test cases. But if we're going to use fail, we should always utilize the same consistent, you know, um, expansion of failure, right? Because if we look, we only use fail for test events, pass and fail, but it's called failure everywhere else. So we should probably be consistent here.
Uh, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I'm okay with consistency. I think this is a case of what the term is that is most used mostly in specific context. Like in test cases, pass or fail is, I think it's what is used more typically rather than failure. And that was the reason why it's pass and fail rather than.
Yeah. But I think what other things use is kind of irrelevant if we're gonna go with interoperability, because we're gonna kind of like standardize on what is going to be used across everything, right? So if we're gonna use pass and fail, we need to use that like everywhere. Like we just need to be consistent, in my opinion. Like but with that said, Andrea, I am okay keeping it as pass instead of success. But if we're going to use fail, I'd rather either opt to use fail everywhere or use failure everywhere. I think we have to choose one.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I mean, I understood what you meant. I'm not sure I mean, for things that are like part of the shared protocol, I definitely agree. Or like formatting, like lowercase, all those kind of things, camel case, that we should try and be consistent.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's in terms of interoperability it would be interoperability across different test system, and that is not going to be the case where the result of a pipeline would be compared with the result of a test, because they're different things. So in that sense, I don't see the need for consistency in that direction. But if you feel strongly about that, I think it's fine. I don't mind. Maybe we could, if you don't mind, we could try and like CC Ole on this one before we merge it, to see if he has any specific concern with this. As it's not Oleg, Ole from TestQ. Oh yeah,
Oh,
the second
okay.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just because they contributed these, so maybe they have
And
an opinion. But as I said, I don't have a strong opinion on this. So if you rather have it like aligned
yeah.
across domains, yeah, it's okay for me.
Okay, so the idea is pass becomes, okay, let me do it like this. Pass
I have
become,
one
yeah.
one question regarding the statuses. Do you want to have statuses like skip or ignore? Because often in tests, at least I run a lot of tests where we have part are skipped depending on of the environment, etc.
That's a good
If we have the
point.
same list
For
for
us,
pipeline and test, I mean, we should maybe skip should be used also for both. But
I think for skip we have a
Is it a
pretty good,
Boolean or something?
actually. I thought
eh, eh,
Oh,
eh,
we
oh, as a separate event. I think you're right.
it's missing. I guess maybe it's miss. I would like to know if it's missing or it's not, or if we don't expect to have it, because maybe it will. Is it
no
skip it,
we
which should not send an event? Maybe it could be the cause.
okay. And I need it was some time ago, but I think we added as a separate, as a dedicated event,
Okay.
um, that a certain test was skipped. But yeah, so we had some discussion in the past about that. Trying to remember.
Yes.
Um, uh, I need to go and check in the history, I guess.
I could look by myself. No worry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a separate event. I have no idea why. I just feel like I saw it as a separate event. I could be wrong though. Skip, yes, here. Yeah, so it's a separate event. It being skipped. I don't remember why though.
Yeah, we had a kind of long discussion about that, and
Okay.
I guess
So
we need to dig a bit in the history and find out.
I will look into the into the Git history or GitHub. Maybe it's a link to appear. Okay. Sorry.
Thanks. Sorry, I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a lot of discussion on this. So like, yeah, it's pretty gnarly. So, okay. Yeah, we can. Okay. Um, yeah, it's always. I mean, it's both. Yeah. Okay. Either way, we can dig into why we did that, but either way, we made the decision already. So we just need to
Okay, I will look at the ticket 140.
okay. So I think this highlights it pretty well, though. Just making an event just makes it easier to, yeah, delegate flow. It makes it, like if you pub sub to it, it makes it, yeah, pretty straightforward. Um, but that's like, why have stateful events in the first place then? But yeah. Okay, cool. So I think that's those are the three big ones. I still need to work on this one. I should really finish that. So I'll do that actually maybe next week or the following week. Um and then that we just went over outstanding PRs. Was there anything wait, why does this look different? Oh, was there anything else that any of you had in terms of updates, wanted to talk about, etc.?
Yes, as you mentioned, it will be the end of the year. So maybe you will be a bit busy or in holidays. So I would like to know if we keep this meeting for December or if you
Oh, good
want to
point.
make a pause.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Andrea? Like, so, obviously, end of December, beginning of January, right? I'm probably, yeah, I'm going to be offline. So, I won't be attending. Are you in the same boat, Andrea?
I will have some days off, yeah. So the first week in January I will be off. And I will have some days off, well, around Christmas days. So yeah, it would be okay for me to, skip a few of these and
Okay.
sit
Um,
back.
okay.
I
So
don't
we
know.
will,
Yeah.
what was that?
I think next week, um, it's the 9th. Yeah, so next week we're doing the recording of the Textron episode
Hmm.
at this time exactly. So we wouldn't be able to join anyways. So I don't know if the following week would be the what is 9th? It's the 16th probably. So I don't know if you still want to try and have the 16 or just close it for the year and reconvene in January.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that'll just make things more simpler. Uh, what's a good way to do this? Let's see. Meetings, or both working or spec working group, spec and implementation working group, SIGs, canceled until 2025 or something of that nature, just so it's in here so people can see it. Let's,
Perfect. Thank you.
yep. Something like that. Okay, all right, and then we can. All right, great. Well, if that is pretty much it, I guess I will see you all next year. I will continue working on the 0.5 stuff. I will ping you, Andre, because there's a few things I want to ask you about.
Mhm.
And regarding the, spec sig, or yeah, spec relay things. And then once we, get a few of these PRs merged, we can start thinking about maybe timelines for 0.5.
Sounds good. Yeah. And I will send cancellation. I will update the calendar then for December at least.
Great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. I will see you again next year, and then you all have a very good, happy holidays. I look forward
Yes.
to the new year.
Yeah,
Okay.
you too. Happy holidays.
Yes. On my side, if I made some progress on implementation or etc., I will write a message on Slack.
Yes, please. We'll always be interested. And yeah, just shoot us a message, and we'll definitely take a look. But yeah, all right, awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone, and I look forward to
Okay.
next year. And if you have any questions, whatever, just ping us on Slack, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.